What's up, peeps? Here we go. How to bounce back from failure, how to deal with failure, how to let go of failure, how to overcome failure, how to balance yourself after failure, how to not let failure define you. Feeling into all of those things today for 30 Days of Feeling. I believe this is day number 12. And when I woke up this morning, I just had like a lot of mornings I wake up and I know exactly what I want to make. Like it comes like bang. I'm talking like within the first like 3 minutes of the day. I'm like, this is the video I'm making. This is the only thing I'm focused on right now. And this morning, this was a video that I was really excited to make. I feel like so many people struggle with failure and letting it define them and letting it crystallize internally and letting that shatter them, break them, define them. And in the process of that, once failure is accepted and embraced, now it's my identity. It's who I am. It's where I'm going. It's what I have, and that's a really dangerous place to be. That's a place where if you get trapped long enough, you might not ever come back. And I'm really passionate about just sharing my stories of failure, and that's what I want to do today. I want to share 3 stories of failure and how I responded to them. And I think it's going to be really impactful and powerful, and I hope it helps. So the first story of failure was when I was a kid. I was a really gifted swimmer, really gifted, meaning I didn't really have to do any practicing, and I'd usually win, almost always, in specific freestyle events. I was fast, and my dad was a world-class swimmer. He went to the Olympic trials when he was 15 years old. So I grew up with a father who was really good at swimming and was an incredible swim coach. He coached LaSalle College High School to, oh my gosh, numerous Philadelphia Catholic League championships, numerous state championships, just like super successful, like really good swimmer, swim coach, knows everything about it. So there's a lot of pressure on me to perform when I was a kid. I felt like to like uphold his name, to uphold the Lickner name of being great swimmers. My uncles were great swimmers, my aunt, my cousins, everyone's a swimmer. I didn't really love it, but I liked winning. And there was this one specific meet that I swam in, I think when I was like maybe like 14 years old, like 13 or 14. And it was like the Lower Bucks swim like meet, the biggest one of the year, where all the best swimmers are swimming together. And that year I had my best events were the 50 freestyle, which is 2 laps, and the 100, which is 4 laps. And I had been racing against this one kid. Only one kid beat me all year. This one kid from, I think it was Eddington. I want to say that's where he came from, but I don't remember. He was really fast. And I remember when I looked at the race and who I was lining up against, I didn't see him on the list for my race I was racing, which I believe was the 50. And I was like, where the heck is he? And then I like looked and I saw him in other events. I noticed he didn't want to swim that event. That wasn't the event. You only get to choose like 4 events you can swim in. He didn't choose that one. And I was like, wow, okay, like I have a real shot to win this. Like I'm definitely the fastest by a lot. And I remember swimming the race and winning and feeling like absolute shit. I felt like a failure even though I was the fastest in the whole league. I felt like a failure. I'll never forget it. I remember this is such an intimate emotional memory I have because it was one of the few times I felt like my dad was really proud of me, like really proud. And I remember being in the car on the way home and he's like, Graham, I'm so proud of you. I won this event when I was a kid and now you've won it. And he was so happy, like he was beaming. And I was so miserable. I was like, I didn't win. That guy just didn't race. And I couldn't let it go. And it ate me alive. I didn't enjoy it at all. I didn't enjoy it. I did the best I'd ever done, and I couldn't enjoy it because I just couldn't let go of not being the best. I couldn't let go of failure. I felt like a failure. And I let that energy in swimming of feeling like a failure and not as good as I could be perpetuate my entire career, which only lasted through my sophomore year of high school, even though it was by far my best sport, by far my most natural talent. I just couldn't stand losing. I couldn't stand being a failure. I just couldn't stand seeing people beat me. It was just humiliating, and I didn't know how to let go of the energy of humiliation, and it crushed my soul until the point where I was like, I can't do this. I cannot swim anymore. It's just not worth me getting so upset at myself and beating myself up all the time. And it all started with that moment right there where I felt like a failure in a moment where I really was on top of the world. And I think that so much of my life these days is really just recognizing the reality. The reality is I won the race and I was the best that day. And that's all that matters. And I could go home and win and enjoy that victory and enjoy the work I put in and enjoy who I was. But I let the what ifs take all the joy out of the experience. And I robbed myself of a moment where I could really connect with my dad too, which sucked looking back. It's like, damn, Graham, you're so unaware. You're so in your head. It's okay, bro. And so in that situation, I dealt with failure really poorly. I let failure become my energy, and that perpetuated all the way through high school of a lot of different sporting events, but especially in swimming, to the point where I quit. And it was a sad day. I knew I was done, but I could tell that I left so much on the table. Like I didn't even get to see remotely close to how good I could have been. Not even remotely close. Because I didn't know how to deal with failure, didn't know how to deal with losing, didn't know how to deal with competition, didn't know how to deal with my own insecurities. And over the course of my life, I've really come to accept a lot of things. And even that memory, as I look back at that memory with my dad, I really accepted in my head right now that that was a great day. It was so awesome that I won the championship for that race. And me and my dad could share that in common. And we were just enjoying time, probably got ice cream at Tanner's. It's just a great day, and I can replay that, and I can change that memory in my mind if I want. I can just see it differently, and I choose to see it differently. There's not a failure at all. I'm courageous to look at things a different way and give myself permission to accept the fact that I did great, and that me and my dad were on the same page, and that feels really heartwarming and powerful. So thanks, Graham. Feels good. That's my first story. Such a powerful story. That moment with my dad, I'll never forget how upset I was. And he was like, "Why are you upset? You won." And of course, like, I'm finding a way to wreck it because I'm not the best, Dad. This other guy just didn't swim. It's not fair. And then I'm like angry. I want to like race the guy just so I can prove to myself. It's like, dude, it's okay. It's okay, Graham. Second moment of failure in my life that really, really hit was when I almost got caught in college selling weed and basically getting discovered as a drug addict and drug dealer. That was really a challenging moment where I had to face myself. It wasn't necessarily failure that other people saw. It was failure that I saw within myself, which was that my dad was a great man and just like served so many people, and all he did was build them up and make them better. And I felt like all I had done was make people worse. Like, because of my insecurity and because of my inability to ask for help and reach out and seek support when I was going through tough emotional times, breakups and other things in college, I turned to drugs. I turned to selling them. I turned to making money to try and fill the void of connection that I lacked. And it was so challenging for me to like talk to people. I felt so trapped in my own head, and oh man, it was really tough. And there was this moment I remember in college, my sophomore year, where I was grinding up weed on my table, and I was using my college ID to like shuffle it up, and I looked down, and like part of my face was covered with the weed, and I was like, that's how the world would see me right now, as just like this like guy who's like half present and here and has this light, and half like just like succumbing to all these temptations and to just like all these things that I'm not. And I felt like a huge failure. Like I had really let myself down, let my family down. My mom and dad are such good people. They taught me such good values, and I just was like spitting in their face because I was so insecure, and I had to prove to them that I could just do it my own way and that I was right. And just so much pride and so much ego and so much unawareness of myself and so much pain that I just didn't know how to process. That the only way I felt like I knew how to handle it was to channel it into, I'm just going to be bigger. I'm going to create more. I'm going to make more. I'm going to be more successful. And that led me to a place where I almost got in a lot of trouble. And it led me to a place where I was so appalled with my behavior and disgusted with myself that I just had to look in the mirror and really just face the fact that I had failed. I'd failed my parents. My dad got sick with lung cancer in I guess 2013, like in the 2012, 2013, like in the height of all the stuff that I was doing. And I was a drug addict and a drug dealer. I couldn't control myself. I'd get high, and then as soon as I got high, I'd wish I wasn't high. And then when I wasn't high, I wish I'd try and get high as soon as I possibly could. Mostly with weed, but also with like uppers as well, mainly Adderall and other random fast-paced drugs that I'd find on the dark web that I would get. And that was just really a challenging experience. And I felt like a huge failure. Like I let everybody down, and that I was going to be that guy. I was going to be that guy in the paper where you see like dad, local legend, hero, idol, son, absolute fucking failure. And I remember like about the time that I felt like I was going to get busted, I went home and I was just in like the hot tub at the local gym, and I was just like bawling my eyes out to my friend, just saying how much of a fuck up I was and how sorry I was and how badly I feel like I'd wrecked everything. And all I could think about was just like when my dad passed away, that he was just going to look down upon me and see this. I got to sneeze in a second. Hold on. See this guy, this son of his that had just gone against everything. Yikes. Everything that he was. And I just felt like such a fraud and such a failure. And I didn't deal with it that well at first. At first, I was really hard on myself, and I was really insecure, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And it wasn't until I moved back home from that moment that I was like, I could sit here and just beat myself up all day, or I could start putting my best foot forward and moving in a better direction. And I dealt with that failure way differently than the first one. The first one, I let it eat me alive, and it became part of my identity, and it stopped me from achieving. This failure set me on course. It was like, I'm never going in this direction again. I'm turning around, I'm walking this way, and this is the way I'm walking, and that's final. I don't care what comes in front of me. I don't care how much temptation. I'm not giving in again. Nothing is worth feeling that shitty about myself. And so I walked, and I walked, and I walked, and I turned my life around, and I sold all the businesses and stopped all the nonsense, the drugs, drug dealing, all that stuff. I got rid of all that. I sold my businesses that I wasn't aligned with. And then I stepped into bodybuilding and fitness, and I put my best foot forward, and I evolved, and I changed, and I transformed, and I turned that failure, the identity of failure and the feeling of failure, into the feeling of joy and success and belief and trust and love that I had for myself. And that felt incredible. It still feels incredible when I look back on myself. I'm just so inspired by my courage to just turn around, because it was so easy to just keep making more money doing things that were wrong and keep like engaging in activities that I knew were wrong. It was so easy to do that. It was so hard to stop doing it. I was so addicted to the person that I thought I'd become. And so choosing no, I'm going to stop doing that and move the other direction. It felt really good, and it still feels good. And I've been on that path now for over 10 years, and it feels amazing, and I feel light and bright, and I feel rooted like this tree, and I feel illuminating like this tree. So that feels so, so good. And that's my second story of failure. I really felt like one, and there were a lot of things I was doing that I'm just not proud of. And I changed my life, and I turned myself around, and I'm very proud of myself and who I am now. And I know that I put my best foot forward as much as I possibly can. So yeah, second time I responded way differently. And the third story is a story about my first company, Pillars of Growth, and my journey of failing in the business. And so what happened is after that second story, after I did the bodybuilding and all that stuff, I started posting a lot more on social media, and I got a social media following, and people started to reach out to me to ask them how to be online coaches. And I was like, okay, well, I could probably teach some people how to do this, so let's start doing that. So I started to teach people, and I had a couple people who were close by me who wanted to learn, and I started training them. I ended up getting really close to them, to the point where we started building community together. We took a road trip, 8 weeks around the country together. We built a team of like 8 other coaches, and we were doing this is like around Game of Thrones. It's called Game of Gains, like a 60-day transformation challenge. We're doing all these things. So much excitement, so much energy, a huge community, over 100 people at the time, which was a lot for me when I was like, 23, 24, whatever. And I was so excited about building it, and I was super young and unaware of myself in a lot of ways, and ended up getting to a point where one of the guys who's closest to me called me one night and was like telling me he was going to resign that night because I had been like more or less, what had I been doing? I'd been not seeing him and treating him with the respect that he felt he deserved and not honoring his contributions as much as he felt like I needed to. And in hindsight, there's a lot of truth to that. I was very different, and that felt like a failure. I felt like I let him down. I felt like I let all the other coaches that quit down, which were like 8. I felt like I let the whole community down, which fractured and fell apart and broke. I felt like I let myself down because I couldn't keep the team together. And I felt like all the things that I had built myself up to be in this new season of my life, this like really strong leader, this man who is capable of accomplishing his dreams and vision, all these things, I felt like I couldn't do it. Like I didn't have the sauce, I didn't have the juice that I thought I had. And I remember being in a place that summer after it all went down where I was like really unsure of the direction I was going to go. And I dealt with failure this time very internally. Luckily, actually, I had my girlfriend there to start. We had just started dating, and she was able to communicate and help me open up. But I really internalized it, and I started to believe the stories. Like, man, maybe I'm not a good leader. Man, maybe I'm really like an egomaniac and an asshole, and like I'm really cocky, and I'm not like this person that I think I am. And I started to believe it. And with failure, it's very easy to start to believe the stories that you're telling yourself. And it's why it's so important to have support, because people around you can give you the honest truth instead of whatever your perception is of it. And looking back and just being in that now, I can just see and feel how much and how sad and how lost I was that summer. I was so depressed. I was like, dude, I have to restart. I don't even know. Can I even do this again? Like, I'm so lost. I don't even know where to go. And that same summer, to change things up a bit, luckily I had someone close to me suggest this idea of hosting a retreat where we could get together with a bunch of people for a long weekend in the Catskills in New York. And I thought, well, that'd be a great idea to shake this up. And that retreat turned out to be the very thing that got me back on track. Was getting 20 great people together for a long weekend in the Catskills, most of which were my clients, fitness clients at the time, to connect and learn and grow together. And I turned that failure into the most important alignment action of my life, because the energy that was experienced at that retreat was the foundation for Leaders of Legends and all the stuff I'm doing now. It was that connective energy, that loving energy that we all felt there. And that was only unlocked through the failure. And so I just want to remind myself here that all the failures that I've had, all the setbacks, all the times when I didn't know what to do next, where I felt like I lost it. I lost the sauce, lost the mojo, lost the juice. They all helped me to get on a new path that when I went the full arc and went through the full journey of that path, unlocked a whole new level. And so much of the failure is just the process of unlocking new levels. And it's so easy to internalize it. And this is why I'm so passionate about communication, the Leaders of Legends men's group, and having guys having the space to communicate their wins, their losses, their lessons, etc. I didn't have that when I was younger. I didn't have that at all. And I come from a pretty emotionally closed family. And especially with the men, like they don't really communicate emotionally. So I had no idea how to do it. And it was so easy to internalize the failure and just eat it and just like let it kind of like fester in me. And I give myself a lot of credit for just being open to try new things and just being emotional even when I didn't want to be, and also finding a really incredible partner that could help me get out of it and working through it and letting love be the powerful energy that pulled me out of those darker places. And which is what I want to give credit to, is especially in that second and third story. The first one I didn't let it in. The second and third stories I did. And that second one, giving myself permission to come back from being a drug addict and a drug dealer and someone who I wasn't proud of, to now feeling really proud of myself and strong and empowered. And that final story, coming from a place where I feel like I let the whole team down to a place where I'm leading the biggest team I've ever led, it just feels amazing. And if I had let the failure, if I had downloaded failure as the software, the default foundational software of my being, I would never have had the courage to keep going. And so failure isn't a software, guys. Don't download that. Uninstall it. Let it just be something that's experienced. Just a simple L. Take the L, take the lesson, and turn it into something amazing. Turn it into a life of your own creation. an L of your own, a lesson of your own creation, foundation, whatever. And yeah, so how do I feel about failure? I feel like failure isn't real. I feel like it's something that people have. Okay, failure is something that people who have given up label the way they feel, which is I feel like a failure. I feel like I can't go. I feel like I'm done. I feel like I have to stop. I can't go any further. I don't deserve to. I'm not good enough. It doesn't exist in my vocabulary. I don't know what failure is. I understand what setbacks are. I understand what obstacles are. I understand roadblocks. I understand lessons. I understand lowering the pride and bringing in courage and listening to feedback. But I don't take failure. I don't know what that is. Every single time, especially in these last 10 years that I've had a setback or an L or a lesson that I need to take in to integrate, I've done it. And I feel like that's why I continue to evolve at a rapid pace and get to be in such amazing places, living a life of my own creation. And I'm proud of myself for that. And I just wanted to share that it's possible for you. You're just going to have to let go of the idea that you suck and that you can't come back from it and that you're lost and too far gone. Once those are all surrendered, that I can come back, I'm not too far gone, I don't suck, there's a lot for me to still grow and expand into, you're automatically on the right path again. And then it's just a matter of you staying on the path and getting around people that are going to facilitate your growth and expansion. And when you do that, sheesh, amazing doors will open for you. Amazing doors like open for me. And yeah, so how do I feel about failure? I feel like it doesn't exist. I feel like it's something that people have learned to accept because they don't have the courage to see themselves truly or have the right people around them that can really see them. And I can empathize with both of those things, but that doesn't mean I sympathize with it. You can still do something about it, and you must. Otherwise, you're condemning your own self, no one else. You are condemning yourself to a life of failure, to a life of defeat, to a life of this is just where I'm at forever. And I don't subscribe to that, especially considering what I've been through. If I can do it, you can do it too. It sucked losing my dad young. It sucked being a drug addict. It sucked being a drug dealer. It sucked looking back at the things I've done and having to live with those. Does it suck? It's just a reality. And I need to learn to be okay with it and accept, just like anything else, with kindness and compassion in my heart and love and joy. And that's easier said than done, don't get me wrong, but it is possible. So that's how I feel about failure. I feel like it's not real. And the sooner that you can realize that's true, the sooner you can get back on the path and start moving towards what you want and start becoming and sharing who you really are again. And that's what I live for. And that's what all my whole message and all Leaders Legends is about giving yourself permission to walk the path of your destiny of who you are and share that person brightly and boldly with the world. And when you do that, just everybody wins. Everybody's life improves and everybody's better off. So I just want to keep encouraging that for all of you. And yeah, I wanted to share those stories today. The first story taught me that it's not okay to beat myself up for no reason at all. And that regardless of the what ifs, the reality is important. And the reality is that I won and I was the best. So shout out to you, Graham. The second story taught me that it's possible to come back from anything, no matter how far away I feel like I am. I never felt like I was further from who I was in that time of my life. Like I was like, dude, I wakingly know I am not me right now. This is not who I am. I'm not a freaking drug addict. I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a bad person, but I feel like I'm being bad. I feel like I like being bad, which is really weird. Like, no, I don't. And I can come back from that, and I did. And the third story taught me that nothing's final. And there are going to be so many people that come and go from my life, and so many of them I'm going to impact in a variety of different ways, and I can't control how they feel about everything that I do, and that's okay too. And that there's always a brighter day, and to keep working for and keep working towards that brighter version of myself and not accept defeat. Never. Just continue to rebuild. The third lesson is rebuild, always rebuild. Even though things crumble, it can be rebuilt. And those lessons I carry with myself, and those three things have taught me to not accept failure as a thing, as a permanent state, rather just a moment of realization, of improvement and rebuilding. I stand by that. So how do I feel about failure? I feel great about failure. I feel excited about failure. I feel thankful for failure, for its continued to help me walk the path and evolve who I am. And I continue to do those two things. So I hope that these stories find you well. And I hope that you can accept and embrace yourself as the truest version of you, the real version of you, the brightest version of you. And I wish you the absolute best and brightest on your journey. It feels really, really, really empowering to share all this stuff with you, and for those of you who watch to get to know me better. And I hope to get to know you better too. So feel free to share maybe a failure you turned around in the comments, and I'm all ears. Presence, peace, and power be with you always. Legends find a way.